What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Hustle and Flow Chart podcast with your boys, Matt Wolf and Joe Fear.
So here's the thing about flow. You can't stay in flow. You can, it's a cycle. Flow is a four-step cycle, right? First is information overload. So I'm always learning, and yes, I'm always kind of like, man, that's a lot of stuff. That's heavy, right? But I'm constantly learning in different categories. So I'm always kind of entering flow for different areas of my life. Second, after information overflow, you have to take a break. You have to take rest. So that's why I schedule my massages, right? 1 to 2 times a week. I'm always trying to force myself into scheduled rest because otherwise I'll just keep going, right? Then after there, flow state can happen after those scheduled rests because ideas have had time to kind of coalesce, connect, random things that maybe I look at something today, but it connects 2 dots that were previously just lingering there without connection, right? Then after a flow state, you have to have, like if you're in flow for a day or two, find some place to rest, get some good nutrition because you will just crash and or binge because you just have this like hunger that comes over you, hunger for sleep, your body gets sore. There's things that are happening in flow. And I learned a lot of that from one of the companies that I used to work at called One Taste that taught something called orgasmic meditation. Tim Ferriss mentioned it in one of his books, but also, Steven Kotler talked about it in his book, Rise of Superman, where he talks about the flow state. And he's done a lot more work since then on that. But flow is so important, but it has to do with learning, then learning how to process what you've learned, then allowing the flow to happen. Like it's like I don't just turn it on when I want to, but I practice certain things that put me in position to kind of get there. And podcasting is one of those things. Or when I'm speaking, when I'm doing comedy, when I'm public speaking, when I'm podcasting, or if I'm making music, those are the things that tap me into it the quickest.
100%. And that's what I was actually about to say. Podcasting, like today is a podcast day. You're our third interview conversation. But like we're both pumped up. Like I know I've just been locked in here, headphones on, help of course. But what you just said, I mean, because we've had Kotler on, Steven has been on here, and you know he talked all about. I'm sure you probably saw it, but I like the fact that you prepare yourself and engineer flow into a specific time. I've never heard of that the way that you presented it, especially with the rest. You know,
I'll tell you this because so I recently, I would say since COVID, I released 55 pounds into the wild, right? Wow. I released 55 pounds from my body. And this was, you know, I'm 41 now. So this was on my 40th birthday. So 2019, October, I turned 40. And I'm like, man, I want to be fierce and fit in my 40s, right? Because there's a lot of things I want to do. I have the wisdom to do them now. I have the know-how, I have the connection base. So I want to be focused in my 40s, right?
Yeah.
And going into COVID, I had just won a bet with a couple of colleagues where we all put $100 in a pot, and I won $500 for losing 17 pounds in about 35 days, right?
Nice.
So I wanted to keep that going. So I curated this little process to gamify my weight loss using a couple of apps, one called Charity Miles, one called Zero. Those are both free apps. And then I had a scale app that allowed me to track my weight loss, right? That actually a friend of mine who's an amazing programmer out of the Bay Area, John McMahon, he gifted to me on my 40th birthday. I just looked up in the mail, had some from Amazon. So with these 3 apps, I was able to gamify and track my progress. And so in losing that weight, one of the ways that I did it was I wanted to do it in a way that was simple, that I could recreate every day, that wouldn't cause pain, that wouldn't cause discomfort, and that was walking. So literally last year, I traversed 5,020 miles.
Wow.
I averaged about 15 miles a day over the course of a year. And so while doing these morning walks, I was engineering flow just about daily, because when you walk for about an hour to 2 hours, you create something, you release something, especially if you do it fasted. See, I was doing it fasted, which takes a lot of willpower, but our bodies are capable of burning sugar or fat. And I was like, I'm going to lose this weight, so I got to lose this fat. And so in walking for 2 hours to 4 hours every single day, I was creating something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factors. That's one of the things that Steven Kotler talks about. That's what you can get when you go into flow states, because now your body is like, hey, let's burn this excess fat. We don't have glucose here, so let's be super efficient. Let's burn this fat, but let's release this neurochemical cocktail so that the person is going to be more creative, so they can find food. That's what it's all about. It's taking us back to that primal level. So in doing that, I start every day by paying myself first, even if it's only a mile. Like today, I was kind of tired because I just came back from Sacramento, had this amazing 5-star cannabis dinner that I attended. So I was recovering from the excess food I was eating, the traveling. So I let myself sleep in, but I also got a mile in because I was like, I want to make sure that I can be in the right headspace for the podcast, have my thoughts flowing. But morning cardio, which we did in the Marine Corps as well. First thing we did was we woke up, we went to the head, brushed up, washed up, put on PT gear, and we went and ran our 2 to 5 miles per day before we ate in order to get our brains flowing and going so that they can start stuffing it with information and knowledge. Yeah. So you could force flow daily by creating a regimen that I call it pay yourself first in the morning. Pay yourself first. Get that internal furnace going, get that creativity going. That's the best investment you can make every day.